All right, Ed, go ahead.
Welcome to the training session for exhibitors to learn about the virtual Boardwalk Seminar 2020. I'm Edward Capozzi, and I have the honor of being the president of NJAJ. Thank you all for joining us. We are recording this training session, so if you want to watch it again, you can. We will also make the recording available to exhibitors who are unable to join us today. Much has changed in recent months, and we are all adapting to ever-changing circumstances. We are very excited to move forward with the Boardwalk Seminar 2020 as a virtual event. We are grateful that you have continued to support NJAJ. Your presence here today and at the Boardwalk 2020 is extremely important to us, and we greatly appreciate your attendance and involvement. We have migrated all of the educational programs from being live to being virtual. And most importantly, for this session, we have worked to maintain a virtual exhibit hall so that attendees can connect with you. All of the exhibitors will have Zoom rooms, and you can visit with the attendees. The Zoom rooms are similar to having attendees at a live event that even approach your booth. All of the educational programs and the virtual exhibit hall are taking place on a platform called Pathable. You will hear more about Pathable in a moment. We are very grateful for your support and very pleased you are joining us in moving over to the Pathable platform. Your support continues to make these events possible, and we thank you. We're excited about the opportunity to present the Boardwalk Seminar virtually. With that, let me turn over the program to Noreen Kanoyar, CMP, NJAJ's Manager of Meetings and Special Events, to give us an overview of the Pathable and its capabilities.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Hello. I am going to share my screen and do a brief Pathable overview. I will then turn it over to Santiago from Pathable to give us our exhibitor training. Before I do that, I'd like to do a very brief Zoom orientation. I know many of you joined us for the tour on Wednesday, so this will feel familiar, but we also have a lot of new faces. So at the bottom of your screen, you will see an icon that says participants. If you could click on that, at the bottom of that list of people, you will see a little blue hand. That blue hand is going to be a great way to ask questions. So if you want to go ahead and practice raising your hand and then lowering it. There everybody goes, excellent. And then to lower your hand, you go ahead and click that button one more time. Great. I am now going to demonstrate breakout room functionality. And this is particularly important for the folks here because when you are manning your booth, when you, this is something that you should practice doing and getting used to because you will be able to pull individuals into breakout rooms with you to have side conversations away from your main booth. So I'd like to demonstrate this breakout room functionality for you. So it will be a very brief 1-minute breakout. And then at the end of that 1 minute, you will automatically be returned here. These are all settings in the breakout room. You could do automatically 10 minutes. You could do when you want. So it's very flexible. But for now, what we'll do is a 1-minute breakout for you just to see what it feels like. And then off you go. Welcome back, everybody. As you're returning to the general session again, if you could mute your line, that will help cut down on any background noise. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm now going to share my screen and do a brief pathable overview. Okay, here we go. So let me go to the home screen here. This is the Pathable platform. And let me open participants here so I can see who might be raising their hand. Excellent, okay. So we have here at the top this navigation bar right here. I'm just going to work my way from left to right very briefly to give you an overview of the platform, and then we'll dive into how to set up your particulars for being an exhibitor. So right now I'm here on the home screen. It's all built out here. Schedule, you have 3 different options under schedule. You have the overall agenda, you have my agenda, and you have schedule a meeting. Now, as exhibitors, when you click this agenda tab, your view may be slightly different because you'll be organizational staff, but I want to let you know what attendees will be seeing. Just give it a second here. Everything in Pathable is searchable. So right here at the top, you have the search bar. This search bar will appear for people. It will appear for the agenda, and it will also appear for exhibitors. So as different people have different tags, you will be able to see how they're sorting themselves. So by practice area, it could be by organizational track, it could be, in the case of exhibitors, by business. So we'll explore each of those. In order to search this, I would go ahead and click in this search bar. And as I was saying here, you have the tracks that come down to the side. Under my agenda, those are those things that attendees have added to their agenda. This is also where they would see any meetings that they have scheduled with you would be on my agenda. To schedule that meeting is here. This is one of many options you'll see today about how to schedule meetings with folks. So if I click here to schedule meeting, I can go ahead and load in the individuals that I am interested in meeting with. It can basically be as large as you want. I think the technical cap is somewhere around 30. Obviously a meeting of that size might, that's a lot of availability to coordinate, but it could be a group meeting. It doesn't necessarily have to be a one-on-one. What's great about the system is it's gonna layer my schedule in blue with whoever else is in the meeting, in this case, Tom, in gray, so I can try and find that common time for folks and go ahead and click that time that I want to set the meeting up for, give the meeting a name, give it a description, send invitation. These meeting invitations and the messages that you send to individuals on Pathable are contained within the Pathable system. So an individual would have to come in, they'd have to view their inbox again up at the navigation bar, or they'll get notified with this bell again up at the navigation bar. So that's schedule. Let's go into people very briefly. Again, people are searchable. It's the same search bar up here. As you can see, we've slowly begun to start to load people in. But if I do this search here, you can do by title, by county, by practice area. There are different ribbons if you wanted to sort that way. You will also be people in the system. So let's go back to my example here. Each of you will also have a page that looks like this. If you are speaking at anything, it will appear on the right-hand side here. You can put videos, descriptions, things like that. Again, as I mentioned on Wednesday, I want to emphasize here again, this want to meet button, both on people pages and organization pages, is a wish list. So Tom is not notified that I clicked this button. This is my internal wish list of organizations or people that I am interested in connecting with. Tom is notified within Pathable of my request to meet with him, or if I send him a message. Inbox is where your messages and meeting invitations are kept. Exhibitors. This view of the exhibitors is in ranked order. We have, again, slowly begun starting to load people in. You will be able to customize the logo that you see here if you want it to be a different size, however you would like it. And Santiago will go a little bit more into how you're going to do that, but I just wanted to show you what people will see. The other view that people will have of the exhibitors, because I mentioned it was searchable, right, is if they come in through the agenda link. So if they click into the trade show, now suddenly it's alphabetical and searchable. So you can still filter by sponsorship level, by tags, by particular things in your description, things like that. And then the last thing I'll point out here at the navigation bar is the FAQs. So up here, we're still building this page out. We expect it to be complete early next week, but here we're envisioning either video tutorials or PDF downloads, in most cases both, of common questions that either you or attendees will have, so that if you need a quick resource, you'll be able to go there to find it. So that is my brief overview of the navigation bar, and just to give you a little bit of a roadmap of what you as when you're wearing your attendee hat might see, and then what somebody may see as coming in for their education. One thing I just wanted to point out to folks as you're building out your booth is, if I come over here to our booth here, bad example. If you are speaking at something, that session should appear on your page and vice versa. So for example, if you're speaking at Litigation at Sunrise, so you could see the organizations that have somebody speaking at that. And if I come to Litigation at Sunrise, I could see the organizations that are speaking at that. So if you have somebody that's speaking and you don't see this connection happening, just flag it for us. It's just something we have to connect on the back end. We've been going through and trying to make sure all those connections are in place, but if for whatever reason it's missing, just let us know and we can do that. But it's a really nice feature, because then folks can see who's there from an exhibitor side at a particular session, but also going the other way. If they're on your exhibitor page, they can see things that you're speaking at. So that's a quick tie-in there that I wanted to make folks aware of. Now, before I turn it over to Santiago, are there any questions? You see one here. Does every booth staff member have their own page, or is it only the vendor who has a page? It is both. So let me go back to NJAJ. So the organization has a page here, right? And then each person has a page. Now you could keep your person page pretty light, right? This is my person page. You don't have to build it out as elaborately as when I showed with Tom Hanks. That's just an example, but you could also keep it pretty basic here if you wanted to. The other thing, just before I turn it over, is I wanted to show you what it looks like when you click Enter Virtual Trade Show Booth, and Santiago will go over this a little bit as well. But we've been getting questions about building out your booth, and I think that may be because some are familiar with a different platform, that it's kind of a 3D construction, and that's not the case here, right? So what you're seeing here, this page, when we say booth, this here with the video and the links and the files, this is your booth, right? And when we enter virtual trade show booth, this is the avenue that people are going to get into your Zoom room with. And we'll talk a little bit more about that with Santiago. But I just wanted to clarify that when we say build out booth, it is not a 3D rendering. It is you loading all these materials and making these pages look like how you want them to look. So let me just pause one more time to see if there are any more questions. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing and I will go ahead and turn it over to Santiago.
Hi, everybody. Santiago Late. I am the Client Happiness Manager here for NJAJ at Pathable. We've been building the site over the last couple of weeks and basically getting you guys ready to get you in here as soon as possible so that you can start going over all of these functions yourself and seeing what it looks like and how it will work. But basically the first step, and I think someone asked this already yesterday, to log in, you will be sent basically an email from the NJAJ Foundation that will grant you access into the Pathable platform. First of all, the first thing that you'll need to do is register, basically complete your registration yourself individually. So basically when you click on that link that will be in that email, that will prompt you to complete your registration. And as you'll see, that will already include your first name, last name in your email there. The only last thing that you'll have to do is just input your password, which is just 6 characters long with no other requirements. Agree to the terms and the conditions, and then you could go ahead and just hit the continue to app button, which would lead you to the home page of the app. Or if you were to hit the complete profile, you would be able to actually go ahead and continue to complete your profile. Noreen, could you let me share my screen?
Yes, that would be a helpful feature, wouldn't it? Sorry about that. Should be good to go now.
All right, so I'll go ahead and share my screen here for you guys. Can everybody see this right here? So
Yep.
I am currently logged in as Noreen, just to kind of give you guys the spiel here of what this will look like. But basically, Noreen is a staff member. She has already been added into the NJAJ Association, which, this is just your organization on the front page. So what I'm showing you right now is exactly what every attendee would see when they first come in here, right? To edit your personal profile, you'll always have the ability to do that under here, the Edit My Profile tab. But if you have been actually added into an organization already as a staff member, if you would actually click on Edit My Organization, you would see that you have a couple of just basic options here as well. Now, as you can see, all of you will have the ability to see your leads and your visits here. And I will go over that in a second as well, but this is just to kind of like show you some of the possibilities that are here. You can edit parts of this page as well. But just so that you guys know, the way that this works in our system is each company has their own organization page, which is basically the organization details as you were seeing here. All attendees will always see your organization page first before they actually even join a virtual trade show booth. So keep in mind that this is what they will see the first time that they click into your company, whether that be through the exhibitors tab up here or by going into the trade show item that is on the agenda. As you can also all access, so if you're on your page and you're a staff member, you also have the manage button that is right there, and you would be able to edit and see this information right here as well. Now, the trade show item, and I just have another tab open over here to show you guys, as Noreen was saying, the trade show item, basically what this is, it's an agenda item that indicates basically that your exhibitors or sponsors are available for like any booth walk-up hours. So if you think of this like in an in-person event, it would basically mean the time that you'll have someone in the booth that people can walk up and talk to. Now, these are predetermined, as you can see, and please don't be bothered by this. This is just because I am in Europe, so the time shown is showing in my local time here in Europe. That will happen for all of you on the agenda. You will see the time in your local time zone there, which is pretty handy for you to be able to know exactly when that trade show will be open. But all of the trade show virtual booths, they are held in Zoom, exactly like we are currently doing right now. And note that they'll only be available. So basically those trade show booths will only be available in the time that is stipulated here. So in order for people to be able to walk up into your booth and have a conversation with you, they would have to do so in these time frames that are right here. Now let me go back into the organization here that I have up here. And as Noreen was saying, when that time is reached, that you will, you get ready to enter your basically your organization booth, you would actually go ahead and come in here. And note that the reason that there is like a specific time on the trade show, basically for the agenda, it's more so thinking basically of everybody as well, so that you don't have someone sitting so many hours at a computer, not knowing specifically when, attendees might come in. So the easiest way is to basically make different agenda items so that people will specifically know when they have to go ahead and enter here. What that happens is, as you saw, this button right here on the front end will be available. Basically, like they'll see it the entire time, but they will only be able to click on it on the time that the trade show is available. So if they were to click on this, they would see this exact same thing that is here. Now, for you guys as the trade show managers, like of the booth, you would access your actual trade show booth through this manage button that is back here. And all of the attendees that would be coming in here would just do so by clicking on this start live meeting button. The functionality is exactly the same for the both of you in the sense that in 19 days, 1 hour and 35 minutes, an attendee could come in here and click on start live meeting, and the Zoom room that you guys would all be in would automatically open for them, and they would be able to see and hear you. You guys have the same ability if you use this manage button right here in the back. As you can see, this says cannot be started. You can actually start joining that session 20 minutes ahead of time. So if you want to get in there like 20 minutes before the trade show hours actually start, you can come in here and just kind of join and start getting ready. Note that it is very important that if you are an organization staff that you join through this button and not through the one in the front, because what will happen is if you join through the button in the front, you will be able to turn on your camera and turn on your microphone, but you actually won't have any host powers, nor will you be able to claim the host in the account in the Zoom session, because it will ask you for a host key. In order to avoid that, you do that just by coming in through the manage button and clicking into this button when it is available right here. What happens then is that you will be out in a Zoom session. You will be the host of that session right there. And once you are in the session, as Noreen just showed a few minutes ago, you do have the ability to set up like breakout rooms with people if you wanted them to like private networkly, networkly private while they're in there. You do have the ability to set like breakout rooms so that people go down to those. Or basically, if you just kind of wanted to have like different discussions about different topics, that's a great way to use the breakout room feature. But otherwise, what would happen is it's the same as like in an in-person event. You guys would be in there, and as people are coming in, you could basically be greeting them and having meetings with them, much as we are doing right now. It is exactly what that would look like. Noreen and I are here, and we are basically hosting for this for you guys, and you are coming in and you're speaking, and basically any questions, anything that you may have, we can go ahead and answer those, and just kind of have like an interaction back and forth in this way. Noreen did basically show a little bit of how to schedule those meetings. So basically, let's say someone comes into your private booth and you decide to continue that conversation further. You'd like to have a private one-on-one meeting. You can go ahead and schedule the meeting that way, or just go directly to that person's profile right here, search them, and schedule a private basically meeting one-on-one with them. Also, for all of you here, I'll go ahead and show you. So I did mention I was going to come back to this. The leads and the visits part that we have right here. So everybody's clarified. A visit will be the first step that any attendee will be when they first come into your page. This just means that they came in here, just kind of like read everything that you had on there, but they didn't click on this. Let me go ahead and go into the organization details page. They didn't click. There will be a request information button right here for them. They didn't click on that. And basically that request information button that would be there is when they become a lead. At that point, when that person becomes a lead, you could actually download basically their information and be able to see what their email and their phone number is so that you can reach out to them privately. If they are only a visit right here, you can only see, as you can see, like it'll tell you how many times they visited right here and just their name, but you would only be able to just see this information right here and just contact them inside the platform itself. You would not be able to reach out to them via telephone or email until they decided to become a lead themselves. As far as basic functionality of joining the trade show and managing the rooms and just kind of like managing their page, that about covers it from our side. So if you guys have any specific questions, I know I see that there are a couple going into the chat that I think you guys are answering, but if you guys would like to, just kind of have any questions that you'd like answered, you'd like to unmute yourself at the same time, please go ahead.
Santiago, this is Noreen, and actually there are a couple questions that came through, so I want to just run through them. So for the Zoom room, right? When I am entering through that manage button, could we go back there? So only organizational staff from your organization can see that manage button.
Correct.
And everybody who enters using that manage button is a co-host of the meeting. So you'll be able to exchange host powers with them. Once the meeting starts, the waiting room kind of goes away, right? So people will just be able to come right into the meeting through that start live meeting button. They'll just be plopped right in, and I can take them and put them into breakout rooms if I need to with my different organizational staff, or I can have group conversations with them. One question there is how many breakout rooms can you have at one time?
It's totally up to you. When you decide the breakout room feature, you will be the one that decides how many breakout rooms and how you'd like to split the number of attendees there. There is no limit to the amount of breakout rooms that you can have going in there.
Awesome. And then just for everybody here, one thing I found really helpful was just practicing breakout rooms. So that's why, and we can do another practice for folks here if you want to see what that breakout room looks like in a little bit longer. But Zoom also has some great tutorials on it as well. But you can set the timings of them, and you can set the people in them, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you for that. Was the Zoom room questions I saw. Did anybody else have any Zoom room questions we can help answer before we move on?
No, I just see in the chat that Noreen asked, can I put myself in a breakout room with someone? I assume she means if she is the host, or does another co-host have to send us there?
If you are a co-host, you can basically, you can move around all of the breakout rooms. So can the host. They can go around and look at each individual breakout room if that's what they wanted to. If you are an attendee, you don't have the ability to kind of like choose which breakout room you go to. That will be up to basically the host. They can either set it to go at random, or they can manually assign like where each person goes into which breakout room.
And it's always a good idea. So one of the things that we're doing is all organizations will be very welcome to have up to 4 organizational staff, because we recognize having multiple co-hosts will be able to is a good idea to have folks, if somebody stays in the general session, then one of the hosts can pull off and have those sidebar conversations. So a host and or co-host can stop the breakout room and come back to the main booth. Yes, that's correct, Donna. So as a host, you do have that power to move around and manipulate the breakouts. And this sounds way more abstract than it is. I want to reassure you that that it will feel a bit more natural when you're in Zoom, and you can play around with it a little bit. If you need a little bit more TLC on this point, just reach out to Megan and I, and we can see what we can do to help out.
Also note that basically any attendee or any person that is in a breakout room does have the ability to leave that breakout room if they wish to as well. When you are in the breakout room, at the bottom right corner of the Zoom controls, you see that there's a blue leave button. You can go ahead and leave that breakout room, but that will only just bring you back over to the main lobby where nobody is there. Unless the host is there waiting for you. Basically, if you go back into the main lobby, you might just find that nobody is there. But basically, you can't leave and join another breakout room unless the host specifically assigns you to another one.
And the expectation here is that you are, manning your booth during trade show hours. So that's why we put them on the agenda. Those are the times where somebody should be able to click live, start live meeting, and they will pop into your Zoom room. So you're there, right? You're at your booth during those hours. So that is how that would work. We are also getting some questions about just the page management side of it. So I'll turn that over to back to you, Santiago. But everybody who's an organizational staff will be able to edit that details page. So if we could show that just one more time.
Yeah.
And we had a question about file size
Yeah.
as well. And I'll loop back to some of these breakout room questions a little later on, but I want to push through some of this other material as well.
Correct. So when you go into edit my organization, any files that you want to upload or videos, like videos will just be linked right here, as you can see. Sorry, excuse me, right there, the links to the video. You can just upload links there. But if you had those like video files that you specifically wanted to share, you could just come in here into the video file and go ahead and add that new file. There is no limit on the amount of files that you can add up, but there is like, keep it nice visually is what I would recommend. So I wouldn't recommend trying to put as many files as possible, because as you can see what basically happens here, when you go, that file tab is right there on the right. So if you were to put like a couple of items here, it may actually start pushing the entire page down. Basically, the same thing applies with videos. I would recommend that you definitely keep it to 3 videos at the most, mostly because of aesthetic type of view, just to not kind of put so many videos on there. It kind of like will make the page look uneven. But as far as like the amount that you can actually upload, there is no actual limit. There is a size limit to each individual file that you can upload. So your individual file that you can upload cannot be over 2 gigabytes in size, but there is no overall like file size limit for what you can upload. Again,
Santiago, could you
yep.
go over the poll feature? Someone was asking about that.
Yes. So the polls for basically for your organization, the same thing. When you click on manage, you would create the poll right here. You could just go ahead and click on the add new poll button that is right here again. The friendly name that you have right here is just an internal reference name for you guys. It is not what is actually displayed for attendees. And then basically the rest of your options for filling this in, as you can see, are right here. So you can pick between a couple of choices here for your question type, whether you want it to be a multi-choice, free text entry, where they basically input the text that they would like to input for that answer, or just a rating type question. If you enable this checkbox and you had a multi-choice, for example, somebody would be able to have more than one response to what your poll is. This question part right here is where you would actually just post that poll question that you have for them. So let's say for today's example, I would just go ahead and did you like your speaker? The options basically right here is where I would enter the options for that poll. So let's say like yes, no, and there is no limit to the amount of options that you can go over right here. The poll chart type is just how you want to see that displayed. Basically the result right here is also up to you guys how you want to see this, whether as a percentage or as a count. Totally up to you, whatever you feel most comfortable with. The vote button text simply just means it will hide. Sorry, it won't hide. The vote button text is just what will be actually what people will click on to initiate that basically voting in that poll. And then finally, these two right here. What this means, only speakers for you guys, and this is just basically on our platform. It's a default setting. But for you, what this means is organization staff and the event admins can view this poll result, not the actual like attendees that will come into your virtual trade show booth. They won't be able to see the answers of this poll if you were to check on this. And finally, if you were to hide this poll from attendees until the session starts, what happens there is you could come into the into this, like maybe a week ahead of time when you're given access to the platform, create this poll and enable this option right here. That will automatically generate that poll for you guys and keep it hidden in the system until each of those virtual trade show hours start. Because note that each virtual trade show hours it starts is another like virtual session that starts for you guys. So basically anytime that each one of those starts, this poll would automatically populate for the attendee, and they would have that available there. If we were to go ahead and create, that would basically finish the process. But just to kind of show you where that is for an attendee, I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this and go back to the organization details page right here and go into the trade show booth. Basically, when you wanted them to answer that poll, the attendee, you would just send them over to this polls area right here, and that poll would automatically populate. Since we don't have any right now, this polls area is empty right here. Note that if you are also in the session and you decide that you want to do a poll right then, you can come into this manage tab and also create a poll in the same way as you just did by doing that right here. And the process is exactly the same as the one that I just explained. Do we have any other questions?
So I think, so we've gone over me as an organizational staff. I'll get my email, I'll set up my people page, I'll go and I'll edit my organizations page. We talked a little bit about, where I can add the different files, where I can add the different videos. We talked about how to get into the booth. And then, the booth itself is a Zoom meeting. So I think at this point, what may be helpful is if we go ahead and kind of bring it back to the group, we'll just start answering questions, one-on-one as they come in for folks. So if anybody has questions, feel free to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask the question. We can make it fairly interactive that way.
Noreen, hi, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Quick question. I apologize if I missed this, but when again will we be able to start building out our booth?
Sure. So you'll be getting that email on Monday.
Okay.
Yep, on Monday. And the other thing, actually, you just reminded me because you were on the tour on Wednesday, that we had a couple questions at that point that folks asked us, and I want to go ahead and answer those now. One question was, if you do need to step away during those trade show hours, how would that work? So right now, depending on when you entered this meeting, you may or may not have encountered a waiting room. So when the trade show hours are happening, the meeting that we're in, the meeting doesn't have a waiting room. So people would be, as soon as they click live, join the meeting, they'll be popped into your room, which means that if you need to step away, you can go ahead and share a message off of your screen, like a basic PowerPoint slide maybe that says, be back in 10 minutes or be back, I would say rather than 10 minutes, be back at 10:05 a.m. or whatever time. And then they'll be able to see that message and decide if they want to wait for you to get back or leave and come back. So because there will not be a waiting room during trade show hours, people will be able to directly enter the meeting and see your shared screen. So that is one thing that folks were asking us about that we got an answer to. The other thing was gamification. We got some follow-up questions about that. We are still looking into it. We hope to have an answer for you to see if we can pull something off to get some gamification in there. But at the moment, we do have the passport prizes. The polls would be a great idea for folks to take advantage of if you want them to, answer a question to get entered for a drawing. That would be a great way to use those polls. Having a keyword on your page, encouraging them to click that request information button is another great way to enter them to win a prize of some kind. So those are all some gamification ideas we had, but we're looking, working to flesh that out for you guys.
Hi, Noreen, you may have covered this already, but going back to our booth, is there a place where they can just drop their business card or information when they come into, is it before they come into our Zoom room? I mean,
yeah, and let me actually show you I'm gonna just go ahead and share my screen. Let me show you because I'm a staff of NJAG, I can't see it on my own page. So let me just jump into a random example here. So I am not a staff of this page. And then suddenly here, upper right, you have this request information button. And this request information button, if I click it, it has this disclosure here that I am opting in to share with you, the exhibitor, my email address and phone number, right? So this is the equivalent of the business card drop, this request information. Now, you also get information about who visits the page, right? Just by virtue of being here, looking at this page, you can see it. And so if we go to the managed part of this, that's the distinction here. So visits are, I didn't click any, I just looked at it, right? And I'm here, you can reach out to me within the confines of the Pathable system. Leads are if I had completed that request information form, then you also get my email and phone number because I opted into sharing those with you.
okay,
So,
great.
any other questions? What I might do is I'm going to go ahead and stop recording to kind of put a break between the formal training. And then if folks want to stick around, I can demo again and talk a little bit more about breakout rooms for folks.
Noreen? Sure.
Yes.
Can you leave this on the recording? I have a question.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me, you said that the exhibitors will receive the password and the ability to gain access to Pathable Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So who is the group that comes in behind them? Is that the speakers? Are they the first to gain access to Pathable? And when is that? So should the exhibitor have their booth built out by that time?
Thank you. Very good question. So the organizational staff will be loaded in on Monday. The bulk of attendees will be loaded in on the 27th, so that's the following Monday. There will be a subset of speakers who are coming in to do dry runs for their sessions on the 23rd and 24th. So that's the Thursday and Friday of next week. So there is a possibility that attendees will be in the system as soon as the 22nd. The majority of people will be coming in the 27th.
And
Go
when
ahead,
you
Corey.
say speakers, there are almost 300 of them, right? So that may be a large group in and of itself coming in.
Yes, that is certainly true, although not all of them are going to every dry run, right? So if they're a pre-recorded speaker or, the co-chairs have it covered. So it is a significant number that may be coming in as early as the 22nd, but the majority of people will be coming in the 27th. So that is Wednesday versus Monday. So we tried to give you as much time as possible. But yeah, so we'll try and get that email out as early as possible on Monday.
Okay, and continuing down the continuum of time here, then we get to the 3 days of the show hours, right? We'll have those, and we ask that the exhibitors be in their Zoom room during those show hours. But after the show, the content lasts for a year, right? And those sites will be up for a year, and the exhibitors should take into account whether they want to leave the content that was up during the show or remove that or alter it so that it serves for the life of the year, correct?
Yes, so we will push out information. We will push out information for folks about how to make sure that content ages well over the year. And if you need to update that content, we'll have more information about that as well. It may be the case that you as organizational staff may not be able to directly log in and do it, but we can help facilitate any updates that need to be made to your page so that if an attendee is coming in December because they need CLE credits and they see that you were speaking or see the exhibit hall, all that information will be there, and all the sessions recorded because they're all recorded and they have that message about visit the exhibit hall. the attendees will be able to go back. Another use case, which I'm really excited about because this happens quite a bit, is when a member calls us and says, there was, you know, that booth, can you get contact information for me? I remember connecting with them. And so we'll be able to say, absolutely, like, here's their page as it was at the meeting, and you can, you know, peruse that way. So we'll make sure that we're connecting those leads that happen past the dates of the conference with you, be it visits or hard leads.
Lorraine?
Yes, question, go ahead.
Hey, up here, it's Steve. How are you?
Good, how are you?
My question actually, I think, goes to what Santiago was talking about, which is he mentioned attaching videos and only
Yes.
doing 3. But what about attaching other documents? Like, let's say we wanted our brochure or something like that attached. You know what I mean? Like, what happens there?
So there are 2 different ways that you can upload documents. I'll go ahead and share my screen again here. So let's go back to our page. So if I scroll down here to NJAJ, so you can see here, there is the file list down here. And then there is the videos over here. So if we go to manage, down here under links, that's where I put my video, right? So that was something that was like embedded in there. I just put the link to the video and it embedded itself. The files that I uploaded were over here. So honestly, I think this will make more sense once you get in there. You can see, does it make more sense to put this as a file on the right-hand side or as a link on the left-hand side? And you can kind of play with that. You can put as many of those as you want. You can put as many files as you want. You can put as many links as you want. Just remember that each file does have a rather large, you know, you'd have to have a pretty big file to hit that per file cap. But if you want 15 files, go for it. Just be aware that when you do that, right, they'll all just start to list down. The video could be directly uploaded under a file, or it could be just you include the link here and it embeds itself. Does that help answer that question?
Sure, thanks.
Noreen, can you just leave that page there for a second? So the NJAJ video that's right there, and you did you put that as a link underneath links, or did you put it underneath as just a link in the description so the thumbnail shows? Because I'd like to do it like that.
Sure, it is a link. So one of the nice features about Pathable is that when you include a link to a video, it automatically embeds like this.
Okay, got it. So that's why the recommendation of not having more than 3, because they're all the thumbnails are gonna come up, right?
Correct. Yep. You know, you could do like in the description, you know, click here and do like a hyperlink out. Right? If you didn't want it to do it this way, but if you just include the video link under links, it does embed as you see here.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, any other questions for the quote unquote formal part of the training before all I'm going to do is stop recording. I'll still be here and I'll let folks jump off if they need to, but I'll stick around. Megan and I will both stick around for a little bit to answer any other questions that folks may have.
Maureen, the build out should be completed by when? I know Monday we'll get the invitation. When should it be completed by?
I would say if you could complete it by Wednesday, the 22nd, that would be a good target. If that's not possible, by the 27th would be, you know, the next wave of people. Because, and then I would also say in terms of reaching out to people with messages or meeting requests, I would hold off on that until, you know, probably the 29th. So like a week out, because it is going to take people a couple days to build out their own profiles, right? So in a perfect world, the 22nd, if not the 27th, and then starting to reach out to people, I'd hold off until about the 29th. So people have a chance to build that out for themselves.
I know, Noreen, I know that originally we're moving very quickly and it's all a learning curve. So originally I was given the 27th, and so I am having a montage created, but I don't think my team is going to have it ready by the 22nd.
And so and I think that's totally fine. The 22nd, these are co-chairs who are coming in to do a dry run of their sessions. I honestly do not think they will be roaming around too much at that point, right? They're coming in to get their meeting, their technician that will be in the room with them. They're going over speaker PowerPoints. They're doing all these things. So they're going to be in a slightly different mindset, and we're not at that point encouraging them to go off exploring, right? The bulk of people, that messaging doesn't start until the 27th, and it's later in that week that people start to get the have you scheduled one-on-ones? Have you checked your messages, right? So it's possible someone will see your page on the 22nd, which is why I'm just giving you that heads up, but we're not pushing them. We're not driving that traffic there at that point.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Marie, real quick, so they're going to get the attendees are going to get a training on how to find people in the exhibitor session, right?
Yes, we've had our speaker training was yesterday, and they were given a kind of brief tutorial. There's also 3 different attendee tours coming up between now and the dates of the conference, where we're going to be going over, how to search people, how to find people, and then if you miss all of that, we're building out the FAQ page, which will have some video tutorials about, how to navigate the system.
Hey, Noreen, this is Robert.
Hi.
And you probably covered this as well, but I just want to make sure it's that, is there going to be written documentation as well? That way if we're like, oh man, I had my own checklist written down here, 1 through 10, and for some reason I missed something, right? Is there anything I can reference besides FAQs? Maybe just like a white paper that, hey, here's a fact sheet, right? Step 1 through 10, this is probably what you want to do to get started.
Good idea. Sure. No problem. We can do that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna stop recording, and if you need to jump off, you're more than welcome to. I will stick around. I'll demo the breakout rooms for folks one more time if you would like that. Megan and I can answer any more questions you may have. We'll make ourselves available for the next 15, 20 minutes if you need it. Yeah, I'm gonna stop record, and if this is farewell, thank you very much for coming.